Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Muslimatul Azizah with study ID number 2021010600011. Would like to talk and explain about some kind of theories about translation. So I will begin with the very basic definitions of translations based on Merriam-Webster dictionary that translations is changing from one state or form to turn into another one's own or another's language. And what about translation theory? Translation theory is not a theory or a science. It's just a collection of knowledge that we have to master and we need to learn continually. Translation theorists and practitioners have forever been argued that translation is either an art or science or even just a craft. Thus, a translation theory tries a little knowledge to relation between opinion, meaning, knowledge, and all its aspects. And now, translation theory according to translation expert. First is Catford defines translations as the replacement of textual material in one language by equivalent textual material in another language. Means that the translator have to replace anything related to the source text with the most relevant word, phrase, sentence, language style, and grammatical structures in the target text. The second is according to Newmark, translations is rendering the meaning of a text into another language in the way the author intended the text. Means that the translator have to translate a text according to the author's intention that must be understood by the reader. So, translator is a bridge connecting between the author and target reader to replace a message and statement in one language by the same message and statement in another language. Third is Nida and Tabersi, translating as a process of reproducing a receptor language, the closest natural equivalent of the third language message, the first in terms of meaning and message, and the last is style. Thus, the translations must adapt to the cultures of the target language and the source language. This Nida theory can couple with Newmark theory. In the same case, it can handle the impressions of translation problems such as over, reduce, false, and interpretations translation. It not only can handle the problem of translations impression, but also informal and dynamic translations even in culture. Where is Milder L. Larson's translation theory? He said that translations is basically change of form. That's when we speak on the form of language, we're referring to the actual word, phrases, clauses, paragraphs, and the other, whether it's written or spoken language. The purpose of this text is to show that translations consist of transferring source language into the receptor language by the way of semantic structures and must be held constant. Anything can be said in one language, of course can be said in another. It is possible to translate. The fifth is Breslian translation theory. According to Breslian, translations is a remote strategy of ideas and thought from the source language into another language in written or orally. Its main translations is general term referring to the transfer of thought and ideas from the source language into the target language, whether the language is in written or oral form, whether the language has established orthographies or not, whether one or both language is based on signs, as with signs of the deaf. And the last is Will's translation theory, that he said translation is a transfer process which aims at the transformations of a written source language text into an optimally equivalent target language, and which requires the syntactic, semantic, the pragmatic understanding, and the analytical processing of the source language. It means, according to Will, a translation is not merely a translating a text, but also transferring, transforming, simulating, imitating, and replacing from the source language text into the target language text. Now, let's move to the kind of translations according to Roman Jacobson. Roman Jacobson divided translation into three, that are: first, intralingual translations, which is a process of transforming a text into another text according to the translator's interpretations in one language. For example, a translator translates an Indonesian poem into a prose also in Indonesian language. The second is interlingual translations, that is transforming a source text into a target text in another language, like we have discussed last time. And the third is intersemiotic translation, a kind of translation which is interpret a text into another sign or system. For example, like a novel turns into a movie. Next is translation theory according to Severy. Severy divided translation into four kinds, that are The first is perfect translations, a kind of translation that we often see in public areas like no smoking, no parking, and the other. The second is adequate translations. It is made for readers who aim to get the general information about a text for fun readings, like a translations of a novel or a short story. It concerns of flexible and smooth translations so that readers can catch the information of the text. Third is composite literatures. It's a serious translations of a literatures. The translations is made well enough to make the meaning, message, and style of the source language can be transferred to the target language. For example, like the title of An Old Man and the Sea can be translated to be laki-laki tua dan laut. Then the last, research and technical translation. This kind of translation is made for translating a text related to the science and technique. For example, like translating books about computer science from English language to Indonesian language to develop information about computer in Indonesia. Well, that's all my explanations about some kind of translations and translation theory. I would like to say sorry if I have so many mistakes in this video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.